Hello again. Saeed here from Said with Courage. I'm going to do a little bit of writing. Well, I've already done my writing. I'm going to show you a little bit of writing, and particularly how writing helps clarify thinking. Cool. Hopefully it's recording that. Welcome back to my janky Zoom recording studio. You. All right. Let's update suicide prevention language beyond won't to can't. Okay, so this is a atomic essay. I write one each day. If you're unaware, I'll probably put a link down below. And I write about suicide prevention. I have a big goal of, it's not even a big goal. I have a big dream of putting really high-powered, high-quality suicide prevention skills into the hands of 1 million people. And this brand is basically my attempt at making that happen. So this is today's essay. It's currently 6 a.m. and I've got a busy day, so I'm like smashing it out really early while the sun's still down. Let's update suicide prevention language beyond won't to can't. Now I'm going to read these two paragraphs and then show you just the subtle change that one word made. And the only reason I caught it is because I read back through it. So yeah, I wrote the whole thing and I had this niggling feeling that something was not right about it, right? That something felt like wrong. It felt uncomfortable and I couldn't put my finger on it, had no idea what it was. I just had this feeling there, but I kept writing it section by section. I didn't let that feeling stop me from writing. Yeah. So perception affects experience. A simple example is watching a play in the olden days. Did you know once upon a time, front row seats were reserved for poor people? The upper class would fill in the back of the room first. How interesting. Sitting at the back of the theater, you don't get a very clear picture of the drama. You have more of a bird's eye view. You don't really catch the details. Right? So this is the kind of opening premise. Position affects perception. How you position yourself in life can be the same. If you have a position close to the stage of your life, you're much more involved, more invested. If you have a position further back, you're less bothered by what happens, but it's also less rewarding. You catch less of the good and less of the bad. Actually the way around, catch less of the bad and less of the good. Now, the first time that I wrote this, I'd actually written it with one word different. I've deleted quite a few sentences in this section. Actually, there was quite a few things that were different, but this one word was very different, right? More than all of the other changes that I made to make it a little bit easier to read. Position affects perception. How you position yourself in life can be the same. If you have a position close to the stage of your life, you're much more involved, more invested. If you have a position further back, you're less bothered by what happens, but it's also less rewarding. This word was choose. Originally, it was choose. If you choose. Listen to the difference. If you choose a position close to the stage of your life, you're much more involved, more invested. If you choose a position further to the back, you're less bothered by what happens, but it's also less rewarding. You catch less of the bad and less of the good. Choose. That's a pretty small difference if you choose a position close to the stage of your life, if you choose a position further back. Now, why was it so significant to me that it flagged my attention and it just like gripped onto me? It was like on my back, you know, it was like this, there was something wrong with this sentence. Is the implication that you get to choose, is the assumed position of power right? This whole thing is about positioning. It's about positioning ourselves to someone else so that we position ourselves as their helper, as their ally, with compassion, rather than their combatant, their opponent, right? By saying won't do it, I'm implying refusal. By saying can't do it, I'm implying incapacity. They don't have the capacity to do it, as opposed to they're making the choice not to do it. And I realized that I was doing the same. I was implying choice on what a lot of people don't see as their choice. A lot of people don't see their positioning in life as close to the stage or further back from the stage as a choice, because for a lot of people, it's not. Right? A lot of people actually don't get to choose. They simply have the positioning that they have. Me personally, I've been very lucky and I do get to choose, right? My mood and my perception are like on the control panel of life. I've been able to find and tweak the buttons so that I can choose my positioning. And sometimes I can't, honestly. But it's taken me a lot of hard work and a lot of luck to get to this point. But I don't want to write this in a way that alienates the person who is where I was. Right? I want to write this in such a way that if someone like Saeed from 5 years ago or 10 years ago was to read it, they would be able to say, this is for me. Not, that's not for me. Right? I'm like doing the hard work to remove all of the rocks in the writing so that people can just go straight through, plant the seeds that they want, or take the seeds that they want from the field and just pick them up instead of have to smash their toe psychologically and say, what the hell is this here? This wasn't expected. I'm going to read through the rest of the thing. And let's try and look for any other spots. I haven't actually read through the rest of it yet, so I'll just do it kind of sort of live. So language affects position. Brains are hardwired for spatial awareness. It's encoded in how you think about life. The language you use shapes your experience. If you don't have the language to define something, you won't be able to change your position in relation to it. I'm too close becomes, I'll move over here, or ask them to move over there. And here's again where it's that implication, right? Or I can't XYZ. Use language. Needs met. Or I can't speak my needs. There you go. Or I can't speak my needs. If you don't have the language to define something, you won't be able to change your position in relation to it. I'm too close becomes I'll move over here or ask them to move over there. Or I can't speak my needs. They won't do it. When you say somebody won't do something, like open up or stay safe, you position yourself against them. against them. You're saying they are there and they should be here. Make that unactive. So if they're there and they should be here. This positioning imposes a combat perspective. Very helpful when you want power over someone. Like in war. Very unhelpful when you want to respect someone, like in healing. They can't do it. This positioning does not suggest refusal or resistance. It imposes compassion on your perspective. The only way you can position aggressively using they can't is if you move to a place of anger or hate. Move, come from. Again, I'm trying to take away the implication that emotional positioning is your choice. The only way you can position aggressively using they can't is if you come from a place of anger or hate. I'm trying to take away the assumption that you always get to choose. From this can't position, you easily make generous and forgiving assumptions. Why is that? You can easily make generous and forgiving assumptions. Why is that? Separate person from problem. Using can't, not won't, you've positioned yourself to see them as a person struggling. Not as a person resisting or fighting. You positioned yourself so it's less personal by listening to the signal of what they're saying and ignoring the noise of your ego. There, that's the punchline. This is the one time when I'm breaking that whole setup because it's the one time that I want that message to land. I'm trying to say that it's okay, right? This whole time I'm trying to imply if you have a position close to the stage of your life, rather than if you choose, right? I'm saying you might just have the position that you have. And that's something that nobody's ever going to, like, I've just built an invisible part of the journey. I've just built an invisible ramp that people won't notice. They'll just be climbing. They'll just be climbing through this piece of writing, but they won't notice that. But because I've put it there, I've made a very specific, intentional choice that makes it a bit easier for them to read. Meanwhile, here is the actual challenge. By listening to the signal of what they're saying and ignoring the noise of your ego. Now, this is the part where if someone does want to get upset, there's my assumption, right? Want to get upset. If someone is going to get upset, then this is where it belongs because it is a challenge. It is a difficult, I'm actually saying, after all of this acceptance and understanding, I'm saying, if you're ready, this is what the challenge looks like. This is what the pathway to growth looks like. You know, possibly that's a pathway that's too inaccessible for some people, depending on, you know, disordered emotions, dysregulated emotions, all kinds of stuff. And if that's the case, so be it, that's okay. Because you know, my audience, I'm writing for people who work in suicide prevention. So if they're not in a place where they can listen to someone else because they can't ignore the noise that they've got going on, then they're not in a place to be helping someone else, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're in a place where they feel like they've chosen their current positioning. It might be that they feel like they haven't chosen it because, for example, maybe they have complex PTSD and their parents made a lot of choices for them, right? Maybe their parents made heaps of choices about their positioning that they never got to choose, in which case they still might be able to help people in suicide prevention, but not unless they're able to listen to the signal of what the other person is saying and learn to ignore the noise of their own damage and baggage. Just like I did, just like so many of us do. Cool. So 6 a.m. I feel like there was a little bit of waffling, but I hope that was helpful to even one person out there. Kind of like my ulterior motive while I'm building this brand is that I want to empower people to build their own brands, put their voice out there, put their message out there. So if that's something you vibe with, then cool. Hit follow, hit subscribe, hit everything, press all the buttons. And yeah, I hope that was helpful.